Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Looking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. About half that work week in the rear view mirror. A lot of you weren't even working yesterday. We're back in action today, and we're glad you're hanging out with us. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos. Busy 2 hours. A couple of our Tuesday regulars are going to be bumped back to today. We'll chat with Sharie, Shack, and Glenn West in hour number 2. Glenn on the Fighting Tigers, Sharie, Saints, and Pels. It's What If Wednesday. If you got some of those, you can fire them away in the Bayou Forward YouTube chat. Koki Riley is going to be with us every single Wednesday at 1:15. Koki's covering the LSU baseball beat for The Advocate, so fired up to have him every single week. Jay Johnson, Luke Holman, Alex Milazzo will meet with the media coming up at 3 o'clock, so we'll get Koki's kind of thoughts on what we may hear from Jay Johnson. Will we get a lineup? Will we get an opening day starter? Does it matter that Luke Holman is meeting with the media today? Does that mean it's some sort of announcement? We won't know until we're off of the show today, but excited to chat with Koki about all things LSU baseball today and every Wednesday moving forward. So log us in for the next couple of hours. We're glad you're spending a little bit of time with us. Last night, LSU and Florida down in Gainesville. Man, it was a familiar story for a lot of that game, and then it wasn't. And LSU had an opportunity to get one on the road, and they let it slip away late, didn't make the plays they needed to late. The familiar part of it was obviously the other team building a monster lead. That happened to LSU at Auburn. It happened to LSU at Tennessee. It happened to LSU at Alabama. It certainly happened to LSU in this game against Florida. And I tweeted this out because I felt that way as time was going on. It felt like the same old story. Build a big lead, whittle it down to 7 or 8, like they did in Tuscaloosa, or like they did against Alabama, like they did against Auburn, and then the other team kind of puts it away over the last few minutes, and that's not what happened. LSU fought this thing all the way back and had every opportunity to win the game. I mean, you got down 20 points 5 minutes into the second half. And at that point, I'm at Pluckers. We're doing sports trivia, and I'm just like, this is same old, same old. You play the top teams in the league, and you just can't hang. But LSU went zone on defense. We'll talk about the defensive start in a second here. But they went zone on defense, and they kind of slowed Florida down with that zone. From the 11:35 mark in the second half to the 8:40 mark in the second half, so about 3 minutes, Florida missed 9 straight field goal attempts. And LSU started to chip away and continued to chip away and hit some shots. And then all of a sudden you look up, and with the minute and 33 seconds to go in the game, Tyrell Ward splashes a 3 from the left elbow, left wing, and you got a tie ball game. And from that point, I did not really have a problem with the way LSU approached the final minute 33. Their execution wasn't great, but I thought the way they approached it was good. You immediately got a steal after that Tyrell Ward 3. He got a steal and got out on the open floor, and I want him to attack and get to the rim. He's 6'6". He's a really good athlete. Go to the rim and take the lead. And he tried a Euro step, and he's just not a complete offensive player at this point. He's more of a spot-up shooter, and the shot was not all that close. I still want him to be aggressive there. You've got an opportunity. You just hit a huge 3 to change the momentum of the game. To tie, I like the attacking there, but he doesn't make the layup. Florida then calls a timeout, and they set up an offensive set. They run a really good set, and they get Riley Kugel running to the rim. He misses, but they get the rebound, and on the follow, Hunter Dean fouls. And Tyrese Samuel for Florida makes 1 of 2 free throws. So LSU now is down 1 with 38 seconds to go, and they're coming down to get into a full offensive set. I've criticized LSU specifically at the end of halves a lot of times in the game of not creating an advantageous offensive possession late in the clock. And they were set up not to just run some high ball screen or not to flatten out 4 low. They were set up to get into an offensive set, and Jalen Cook got a little bit lazy on the rip through, and Florida stripped him. Again, I didn't think it was poor coaching. I thought the idea was very good. I thought the player was a tad lazy on the play, and Florida made you pay for it. Credit to them. So they get a run out, and they get a bucket to go up 3 with 20 seconds to go. At this point, LSU only has 8 fouls that they've given. So Florida's still in the 1-and-1. They're not even shooting 2 shots. I loved LSU's approach there with 20 seconds to go in the game to go straight to the rim and get a layup, and they did. I hate settling for threes. Sometimes there's 6 seconds left and you got to put up a 3. When there's 20 seconds left, you don't need a 3 there. And they did. And Jordan Wright went right to the rim uncontested for a layup to cut it to 1 with 11 seconds to go. LSU calls timeout at that point to set up their defense, and they do a really good job of forcing the ball into the hands of one of Florida's bigs. And Alex Condon has to go to the line. He's a 68% foul shooter, and he only makes 1 of 2. So you get the rebound there with 9 seconds to go, down 2. That's as good a spot as you could have hoped to be in when you were down 20 5 minutes into the second half. And LSU hasn't been in this situation very much where you've got an opportunity right there at the end to make a play to win a game. And they got the ball in Jordan Wright's hand, and he made a good move, and he actually dropped his Florida defender. I would have really liked it if he rose up and shot that 3. Really would have liked it. He had created some space. He's a pretty good three-point shooter, and quite frankly, I don't really want to play 5 more minutes with Florida at this point. Florida's a better team. They're at home. You've kind of clawed back inexplicably and have one opportunity. I want a 3-ball in the air if we can create a good one. I don't want to force one if we can create a good one, and he got a good one. Instead of shooting the 3, he drove, kicked it to Baker. Baker wasn't really looking for it. The ball was loose for a brief second. And then you get Jordan Wright left all alone because there's a chaos situation, and it looks like a really easy shot from 5 feet uncontested with time on the clock. Truth be told, at that point, Jordan Wright's eyes can't be on the basketball and the clock, so you don't know exactly how much time is left, and he rushed it just a smidge and didn't get the shot to go. But I didn't hate LSU's idea on any of it. I want Tyrell Ward to be aggressive and go to the rim on that fast break. He did. I want LSU to attack and try to get a 2. Or first, on the second session before that, I want LSU to get into a set and try to create a good shot when they were down 1. Turn it over on a bad execution play, but not a bad idea. I want LSU to go to the rim down 3 with 20 seconds to go. They did. I want LSU to force the ball into a big's hands late in the game. They did, and they had an opportunity, and I want LSU to try to potentially get a 3 in the air. They didn't quite do that, but they got a decent look late, and they just didn't make it go.
And do you think that he got fouled on the putback?
I didn't see that. I honestly didn't even go back and watch it.
Okay, yeah, because I noticed it on the play, and I think a lot of times refs they're not going to call a foul when the time runs out. It's going to be really hard for them to call a foul. But the announcers on ESPN noted it and said that they thought it was a foul. But yeah,
Fouls and pluckers with no volume, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, that's a tough call.
But you just didn't quite make one more play. If you get a bucket on the one where Cook gets it stolen, maybe. If you make the last play, maybe. They just didn't quite make the one play you had to make. And the reason they were in that position is because they were so putrid defensively in the first half. I didn't even think, we talked about this yesterday, why try to run up and down with Bama? Why try to run up and down with Florida? Because they're better at that than you. I didn't even think LSU was trying to run up and down in the first half. They just could not stay in front of anybody. I mean, Florida scored 48 points in the first half. They were 67% from the floor. They don't do that in layup lines. Speaking of layup lines, in the first half, Florida was credited with 9 layups and 7 dunks. That is 16 finishes at the rim in a half. I mean, that's just terrible defensively. And maybe if you're, taking some chances and you give up those layups and dunks, but you're getting some turnovers going the other way, I can try to get on board. But the fact of the matter is you only forced 3 turnovers. Everything they did on defense was awful. in the first half. And that's why you dug yourself such a massive hole. They fixed it with the zone, and maybe they went to the zone too late. Maybe they should have gone to the zone 12 minutes into the game. I don't know. But that was what kind of changed the momentum of the game and slowed Florida down a bit. But that defense was just brutal. And the bummer about this whole thing is that they're not winning those 50-50 games in Southeastern Conference play. Because this is not an aggregate score in SEC play where you get credit for some close losses and you don't get all the credit for close wins. Nope, at the end you're just there's 11-8 or 11-7. Oh, there's 6-12. Like it's and they're not winning the close ones. They blew A&M out. They blew Vanderbilt out. They got blown out by Auburn. They handled Ole Miss for the majority of that game. It wasn't a close game in the late possessions. But then you had a tight one at home against A&M and you didn't get it done. Then you got a tight one on the road against Georgia, and you lose at the buzzer. You blew Arkansas out. You got blown out by Bama. You got blown out by Tennessee. And then you got a tight one against Florida, and you lose it. You've lost all three of the one-possession games late. And that's going to be the story of what this team is at the end. Can you win a couple of these 50-50 games, and they're not winning any of them right now? I mean, how much different is this discussion if we're not talking about an LSU team that's they're 4-7 right now? If you flip two of those games and they're 6-5, like that's a completely different discussion.
Yeah, I think, especially with how we've talked about the end of the schedule, is so much more manageable. If you're at 6 wins now and you could conceivably get 4 more, that's 10 conference wins, and
just blows my expectation out of the water.
And you actually have to possibly consider them to be a bubble team.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I don't think they would get in. Their non-conference is bad. You got a terrible loss against Nichols, and you lost your important games. The only thing that stands out is a nice win over Wake. But, I mean, it's just it's that close. I mean, the Georgia game was so close late. This game was so close, and they go the other way. And truth be told, that's probably the DNA of a program that's not in a position to be a bubble team or NCAA tournament team. That's probably the harmful truth here. I mean, you've lost 6 of 7. Not that was totally unexpected. But if you could have gotten 2 of them, it just changes the discussion so drastically. So now they got to come back. At least they have an extra day and get ready to go back on the road Saturday to play a good South Carolina team that's ranked 11th in the country in what's probably going to be a raucous environment in Columbia because they've got a real team to play for. And then you come back and play a Kentucky team, and quite frankly, we're not going to break that game down until next Wednesday, but I got a feeling Kentucky will have an urge to score 100 in that game because of the way that LSU has played on defense. So just a real bummer last night. I think everyone probably tuned everything out with 15 minutes to go in the game because you're down 20 points. But they did what they've done all year, and they kind of made it interesting. Just can't get quite over the hump. Bummer of a loss last night to the Florida Gators. We'll transition over to the baseball side of things. Koki Riley covers the team for The Advocate. He'll be with us every Wednesday, and he's with us next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is where you can find them online. You can also look them on Instagram, AVSS_BR. Do you have bad Wi-Fi in your home? A lot of people, bad spot, you can't quite, you got to be standing in a certain place, or maybe the house is a little bit bigger and you don't have the modem is far away. Look, fix it. AVSS can boost your Wi-Fi signal. They can install mesh Wi-Fi and help that strength all over the house. It's one of the services that they offer over at Audio Video Security Solutions. They do audio, surround sound, home entertainment, all that. They do video, mounting televisions, getting your home entertainment system up to snuff. They do security. They also can help you with your Wi-Fi as well. Go to avssla.com, avssla.com. You'll see the number for Mr. Fisher. He's the owner. Get his direct cell number. It's 225-439-7920. When you make that phone call, you get the owner of the company right here in the Baton Rouge area. Check him out online, avssla.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR presented by Pluckers. Shay Dixon will join us. We'll talk Clint Kubiak with a 49ers reporter. It's a Whiskey Wednesday, ton to do, and hope you join us 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We are just 2 days away from opening day at Alec Box Stadium at LSU in VMI. 2 o'clock first pitch. Koki Riley's going to be there on Friday. He'll be with us every Wednesday at 1:15 and joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Koki, how are you, man?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on, and excited to do this weekly.
You ready for a whole season? It's a lot of hours in one chair.
I'm ready for the whole season, man. Baseball is very special to me in my life, so I never get sick of it. So I'm just really, really excited to get this thing going. You know.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you. I've got a couple questions about today's media availability, but let me just start big picture. Last year, Jay had a huge talking point about everybody being selfless, and he had a bunch of examples that he'd rattled off from LSU history of guys who waited their turn or lost a little bit of playing time or this or that. What has been the overwhelming message that he's given y'all in his meetings with the press over the last 6 weeks?
Yeah, I think in terms of like the big picture, I'd say that, they're not. I think the sort of approach that they're taking this season is that they're not defending anything, right? It's a whole new season. Everyone's starting, 0-0, and you have to go out there and sort of take it when it comes to, trying to repeat as national champions, right? Like, just because you won it last year, it doesn't guarantee anything for this year. And I mean, sort of the clean slate approach and just trying to move on to a new year. And, again, you're not defending anything. Like, that sort of idea has been repeated to us in the media, at least. And, and to a degree, it does make sense, right? Because you don't want to lean on your talent too much, especially when you don't have Dylan, you don't have Paul anymore. So, yeah, that's been kind of their message.
So we're 2 years into this with Jay now, and we know that he does not give much injury information and never really gives you a starting pitcher either until 90 minutes before first pitch. I did notice that Luke Holman is meeting with y'all coming up at 3 o'clock. Do you have any indication that he might be the guy on Friday, or you think that's just a coincidence and they're bringing two players and he's one of them?
Well, so Hurd, there was a chance that we were also going to speak to Hurd today, and then there was a sort of a conflict with that. So I'd say it's either one of those two guys. And then last week in the scrimmage on Friday, they had Hurd and Holman pitching. So I think it's going to be one of those two guys on Friday. I'd be shocked if it wasn't, in terms of starting. And after that, we'll see how everything sort of transpires. But I think Holman looked super impressive when he pitched last Friday in the scrimmage. Hurd not quite as much. I think he hit like 3 batters. But they have a pretty strong top two this season, and I think the stability that Holman brings to their rotation is really going to help them.
Yeah, I wanted to expound upon that a little bit in terms of those two guys at the front. Is that how do you rate that as a 1-2 punch in the SEC, and then once you get into postseason play?
Yeah, it's about as strong as almost any other top of the rotation that's in the SEC, at least in my opinion, just because you sort of have the firepower that Hurd gives you, right? That mid to high 90s fastball, that really, really nasty breaking ball. He just has the explosiveness of the stuff to easily be a first-round pick. And then you have a guy like Luke Holman who, I hate to use this cliche, but he knows how to pitch, right? 91 to 93 mile per hour fastball, really, really good curveball. I was very impressed by his curveball, just seeing it in the scrimmages. And you saw the results last year. He was one of the best starting pitchers in the SEC in Alabama's ace. So you look at those two guys at the top of your rotation. And granted, you don't have the ceiling that you don't have the super duper star that in Paul Skeens anymore. And Ty Floyd definitely had his great moments, but you could argue that you're still pretty set at that 1 and 2 spot at the very least. And we're probably going to get into this, but they have probably more depth than they had last year behind those guys.
Yeah, there's 4 games obviously this weekend. Holman and Hurd can only pitch 2 of them. Any indication, or from your watching in scrimmages, how do you feel like the next 2 games potentially line up as far as starters go?
Yeah, Gage Jump hasn't pitched as much recently, but when I asked Jay last week about if there's any injury updates, he said everyone was healthy. So, kind of what's to your point. So we're gonna have to. That's going to be kind of be like a wait and see, and we'll try to figure out exactly who's pitching on Sunday and pitching on Monday. And then on Monday, I think it's probably going to be Ackenhausen or Herring. Both those guys pitched on Friday, so the guys who pitched on Friday kind of seem to be the quote unquote big guns for them. Like Gavin Goodry. Did Gavin Goodry pitch on Friday? I'm not quite sure. I think Justin Lohr definitely did pitch on Friday. But yeah, I think it's going to be one of those two guys on Monday, or maybe that's just the Sunday and the Monday guys, or those two guys. So we'll see. But I think either way, though, they got a ton of depth, and we know what I think LSU fans know what they're getting out of those two guys. And I think Herring and Ackenhausen could definitely start for both SEC teams as like a Saturday Sunday guy. But LSU has a ton of depth this year, so there's a decent chance that those guys won't be starting for most of the year.
Koki Riley is our guest, LSU beat reporter for The Advocate. Will be on the beat all season long. Let's talk offense a little bit. The biggest surprise to me, based on my feeling on the team back in September before they even started fall practice, is that Jake Brown has made as many waves as he had. What's your expectation for him offensively and defensively?
Yeah, he's just a fantastic athlete. And you look at him, and from what you've heard, you think pitcher, right? Major League Baseball was more interested in him as a pitcher than they are as a hitter. I haven't even seen him pitch yet. But as a hitter, he's got a pretty natural swing. He had a ball 390 feet over, I think it was over everything in right field at one of the scrimmages. Like, he's got some power. He's a pretty good quick. Definitely has some quick twitch as an athlete, and really natural swing. Doesn't look like he's a pitcher who's hitting at all. He's I don't know. I was just very impressed from the little that I've seen from him so far as a hitter, and I think they have high expectations for him. And I think right now he's probably the favorite to start in that third outfield spot. They have some depth behind him, so like if he gets hurt or someone else gets hurt, or he's not performing up to their standards, they still have a ton of guys. They have righty lefty optionality. I mean, Ashton Larson and Zebril are two more left-handed hitters that they can throw into that spot. You look at a guy like they can move Josh Pearson back to the outfield and start Stephen Milam if he's playing really well. Ethan Fry is an option off the bench as a right-handed hitter. So, they have a lot of options at that corner outfield spot. Is part of the reason why they moved Josh Pearson down to the infield, because that wasn't quite the case on the infield. And they also, needed an extra left-handed bat because this team kind of lacks left-handed hitting. We can talk about later if you want to. But yeah, I've been really, really impressed with what I've seen from Brown so far.
Let's talk about two of the guys you mentioned there at second base, Josh Pearson and Stephen Milam. What is your anticipation to how that shakes out as the season progresses?
Pearson's going to get the start at first, not at first base, but
I got you.
Initially. But yeah, I haven't seen him take a ton of ground balls yet. That's just by happenstance. But at the same time, he's a pretty solid athlete, good hand-eye coordination. I can't see why he can't be at least competent at second base, and they just need him to make routine play. I think he can more or less do that. Jay Johnson isn't necessarily the most keen doesn't necessarily emphasize defense over offense. He always takes, if you can hit, they'll find a way to put you in the order, or to maximize the offensive potential with this team, right? We saw it a whole bunch last year, moving Gavin Dugas to second base, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think Pearson will at least start off the year at that spot. But I've also been really impressed with what I've seen from Stephen Milam at some of these scrimmages. Like, he's not intimidated by college stuff at all. He's not flustered by high velocity at all. Mid-90s fastballs don't faze him one bit. And he's a very small guy. I think he's listed at 5'8", but he's probably shorter than that, to be totally honest with you. But it doesn't seem to matter. He's pretty well built too. It seems like he has some strength to him, even though he's only a freshman. So, obviously he's a natural infielder. So, like, if you needed if you needed a righty in the lineup, or you needed a more natural second baseman in there who can still give you some offense, I think he's definitely an option for them. And of course, they've been Nicole as well, who's a fantastic defender, gives them some versatility, what he can do defensively. He's also a left-handed bat. He's also probably their best bunter. So I guess they do have some more options in the infield than I gave him credit for a little bit earlier. But either way, I think with moving Pearson to second base just gives them a little bit more, optionality.
He is Koki Riley, LSU beat reporter for The Advocate. He'll be with us every single Wednesday at 1:15. We'll see you out at the box on Friday, Koki. Thanks, man.
Awesome. Thanks so much, hon.
They'll be meeting with Jay Johnson, Alex Milazzo, and Luke Holman coming up at 3 o'clock. And as Koki kind of alluded to there, I don't think they'll announce a starting pitcher. It's just not the way Jay operates. Ole Miss has already announced theirs. Arkansas has announced Hagen Smith. Early A.J. Russell was announced as the opening day starter for for Tennessee. They're just not gonna. I just don't think he's gonna do it. Just not the way he's wired. Not gonna give VMI that 2-day advantage to be able to scout their pitching. Although if I could knock on VMI's coach's door and say, hey, you might want to look at Holman and Hurd. Those might be two guys you want to circle. All right, we got What If Wednesday coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
I'll tell you about One Bath and Closets. I always tell you to go to the website. And what do I tell you is on the website? I tell you can look at the pictures. They're great work. You can request that free consultation. You can also check out some of the testimonials from their satisfied customers. I'm reading one right here. I heard about One Bath advertised on a radio station I listen to often. I wonder what that was. And after that, I called David, the owner of the company. In no time, he came out to our home, took measurements of our bathroom, and gave us a very reasonable quote to convert the bathtub into a walk-in shower. We were very pleased with the end result, and I recommend One Bath and Closets to anyone looking for an affordable remodel. It's said better than I could say it, Charmaine. But that's the review right there on onebathandclosets.com. Check out the website for your closet remodels, bathroom remodels. Maybe it's something extensive. Maybe it's something small, but David Duvall and his team can do it. Their motto is simple, easy, and complete. Check out the website, onebathandclosets.com. Again, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends April 30th, 2024.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction.
Thursdays Off the Bench, Jake and T-Bob in studio, previewing a little LSU baseball as we're just one day away from opening day at the box. We'll be joined by Chris Dorian to talk all things college football, and then, of course, our Munchie segment with LSU executive chef Michael Johnson. Tune in 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Appreciate Koki Riley for being with us there in the previous segment. We got huge news out of the Southeastern Conference to get to the end of the hour. We'll involve back in that discussion. Sharif Ishak going to be talking Saints and Pels coming up at 2 o'clock. Glenn West with us at 2:30 as well. So, plus way too early college football power rankings coming up in hour number 2 as well. Where does LSU sit in that one? But it is Wednesday. It is 1:30. That means let's play some What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
All right, got the first one here. What if you could have one of these for the whole year, but the other not at all? King cake or crawfish?
I'm going crawfish all year. I love crawfish. And I love king cake too. And king cake's a lot easier to eat. Like you grab a little piece in the office, grab a piece for breakfast, you grab a piece after dinner. It's just there, and crawfish is a whole production with the boiling it and the cleaning your hands off and all that kind of stuff. So maybe that's not a great answer, but in terms of just flavor, I love crawfish. I can't wait to get some here. I'm usually a March crawfish person. Now with this season going the way it is, like who knows when I'm going to get some, or who I'm going to have to take a loan out with to get some. But I would go crawfish there.
All right, next one here. What if Bama doesn't complete the 4th and 31 against Auburn?
How did they do that in the first place?
Yeah,
anyway?
that's
4th and 31.
Well, I saw a lot of people talking about this after the play, and it's something that you see in almost any game where there's a Hail Mary. It doesn't actually make sense other than the fact that everyone just does the same thing. Why do we not see more teams rushing more than 2 or 3 on Hail Marys? Like if you somebody posted a clip of the Saints one year in the Breeze era when they were going up against a Hail Mary and they rushed 5 or 6 and the quarterback was pressured and he just had to throw it and it wasn't a good throw. When you only rush 2 or 3, they literally can just stand back there as long as they want, wait for somebody to move around and throw it. And Auburn that's what Auburn did. They only rushed 2 or 3, and Milroe had plenty of time to sit back there and watch a bomb.
He did. So let's get to what if.
Play this out. Bama doesn't make it to the playoffs, even if they beat Georgia. When does Saban announce that he's retiring? If it's early December, does that change who their coach is?
It's interesting because I do think that the announcement might come at a different time if they don't make the playoff. They're still going to play on
bowl
New
game.
Year's Day.
Yeah.
Maybe so he announces right after that. Or maybe if you believe Saban and he didn't know until the morning of that he was going to do it, it doesn't change it. But even if, let's just play the what if hypothetical out and he decides he's going to announce December 10th, this is my last game. And then you got the early signing period that probably messes with him a little bit. But I still believe that the hiring pool would be very similar for Alabama as it was in the middle of January after Kalen DeBoer had already lost in the playoffs. And I think they still probably make the same phone calls that they made. I don't know if they called Steve Sarkisian. I don't know if they called Lane Kiffin. My assumption is that they didn't. I don't know what the deal is with Dan Lanning and if his buyout changes early in December, but it feels like the chalk still holds there and they still hire the same guy. I don't know that to be true.
Yeah.
Maybe the fact that they won that game in the Sugar Bowl held a lot of weight by the time it was hiring time, and maybe there's a difference there. But it just feels like that was going to be the same hiring pool. DeBoer would have still had an unbelievable record at Washington. I think they probably still hire him.
Yeah, I don't think there was really anyone else that had already gotten taken off the board before that. So yeah, I think I agree with you. All right, moving on. What if you could change the outcome of one championship in college and one in pro, any sport?
I mean, I don't know how I could go away from the 2011-2012 football season.
Yeah.
One, it would have gone down to such an unbelievable season. At that point, a lot of people saying the best ever. And then we had what we did in 2019. But then it's Bama. Like, even worse than losing to Florida in baseball, which was uncomfortable. That's just a team in that state you do not want to lose to. You don't want to lose to Bama in the Superdome. Like, Nelly wrote a song called "The Champ." I don't know if you're familiar.
Oh yeah.
And I was listening to that a lot leading up to that game. I couldn't listen to it again until 2019. Like that week left such an emotional imprint on me and so many other people because it was such a drastic and dramatic fall from grace. I mean, I can't imagine there was a team that was looked upon so favorably all season long by everyone and watched that demolition they undertook on. They were completely non-competitive from start to finish in that game. Certainly on offense, but even the defense wasn't getting stops. They were holding them to field goals, but they weren't. Bama was moving the ball. LSU was just immediately punting. I mean, that was an atrocious game to watch and has to be the only answer there, even though I'd have loved to change the outcome of that LSU Florida College World Series. As far as pro goes, I haven't, in championships, the Cubs have only played in one World Series in my lifetime, and they won it. So there's not one there that immediately comes to mind.
Could we say does it have to be the Super Bowl, or could it be the NFC Championship? Because if it's the NFC Championship, it's obviously the no call. Because if the Saints win that game, they go play a Patriots team that wasn't very good, and they barely beat the Rams, and I think the Saints win.
And look, the one where they lost to the 49ers was uncomfortable too, because they were coming back to the Dome the next week, and they were going to play in the Super Bowl that year as well. I can't connect in my head the years of who was coming out of the AFC that year and how good they were. That's beyond my NFL recollection. But I mean, the Nolan no calls, I think the worst in Saints history because of what was coming on the other side of that. So I'll go ahead and throw you New Orleanian and Saints fans a bone there and change that one if I'm given this omnipotence.
All right, next one here. What if LSU baseball goes back-to-back, even though they don't like to talk about it?
Yep.
Is this the beginning of another baseball run similar to the 90s?
No. You're just not going to see LSU win 5 national championships in 9 years. They're just not going to do it. Although the scales are tilted so heavily in favor of the Southeastern Conference and by default LSU in that way in this era with the transfer portal, because LSU doesn't have Tommy White. LSU doesn't have Thatcher Hurd or Gage Jump or Luke Holman or Michael Braswell. Like most of this team, you don't have in that era because you'd have to sit out, and why transfer if you have to sit out a whole year? So your LSU's ability to attract top talent is better, but so is everybody else in the Southeastern Conference, and there's a little bit more parity, I think, within the SEC than there was back in the days when Skip was doing it. You don't have Wichita State, you don't have Cal State Fullerton, and you don't have some of those teams that you had back then. But it's still to expect LSU to go on any sort of run like that, I think is unreasonable. I hope. It's
that'd be
certainly
great.
Not impossible.
Yeah.
I'm just certainly not going to anticipate that it's going to happen.
All right, last one here. What if LSU had 3 outs to get, and you could choose anyone on the pitching staff to get them?
Oh man, that's interesting. I've heard so much good about Gage Jump, but I haven't seen enough of it to have true conviction on it. And I love the way Gavin Guidry competes, but from a stuff perspective, I might look somewhere else. I love Nate Ackenhausen's moxie too, but does he have that stuff? It probably does have to go to Hurd or Holman, and I'm probably going to go Hurd, even though last week Holman was significantly better than Hurd. I think if you're telling me I got to get 3 outs, protect a 1-run lead, who do you want to send out there? I'm probably going to go with the guy that won the national championship game.
Yeah, it isn't specific, but I would assume that they mean in the ninth, bottom of the ninth. You got to get 3 outs. But
true. But
if that's the case, I do know. I mean, I do think that sometimes you see in the MLB and World Series, you see starters come in as relievers, and sometimes
Skeens was walking down to the bullpen last year,
and
with those backpack on, I can still vividly see him walking down. Now it would be one of those moments where you could cut the tension in the stadium with a knife if you saw that in the anticipation, but because LSU had built such a lead, it wasn't really as dramatic, but I can still remember it. It was very vivid that they were going to close the door with him. And you see that all the time. I mean, the Cubs brought John Lester in Game 7 of the World Series in a tight spot. We know that Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling in the 0-1. Verlander's been called on late in relief to do that too. So, yeah, it's very common for Lewis Coleman. Got the last few outs of the 09 College World Series in a blowout in that one as well. So, all right, that's it for What If Wednesday. Appreciate y'all for sending some of those in via Twitter. I have not looked at the Bayou Ford chat during this segment, so apologies if anyone has thrown throwing some in there. What if you were gifted $50,000? What would you do? There's one from there. I was gifted $50,000. God, I'd probably be pretty boring. I'd probably pay Alyssa's car off and chunk some into an education fund and then use a little bit of extra.
You wouldn't buy a ticket to Augusta?
No, I would not buy a ticket to the Masters. No, if there was a way for me to get to play, I would figure that out with $50,000. But that's not how that thing works. So I would be. If you're talking about like lavish amounts of money, I can do some creative stuff. But if you're giving me, which I'll take $50,000, but that's not necessarily a massively life-altering amount of cash.
Yeah.
I'd probably do some boring stuff with it. So that's where we are in my financial wherewithal. Regular Dave Ramsey here. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, big news in the SEC. We'll talk to Beck about it next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet is live in Louisiana as the official sportsbook of ESPN. ESPN Bet's the only place to find daily exclusives and offers with your favorite ESPN personalities and shows. Sign up today, and new users get $100 in bonus bets for making any sportsbook bet. Find all your favorite markets and bets like in-game wagering, cross-sport parlays, teasers, and all the props you can handle. That's ESPN Bet. You can download today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBares Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you. Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the need.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR presented by Pluckers. Shay Dixon will join us. We'll talk Clint Kubiak with a 49ers reporter. It's a Whiskey Wednesday, ton to do, and hope you join us 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
No, our job here is generally to inform and entertain. I don't want to intentionally make anyone mad, although I feel like some of you are going to be mad if you sat in your car because I teased that there was some huge news out of the Southeastern Conference that you really wanted to hear about, and you searched on your phone and couldn't figure it out. Well, I guess I got to wait around for Hunt to tell me. It's not really that important unless you're Jacob Beck.
It is important.
Looking to win bigly on a non-existent bet, but more of a discussion about the future of one Jerry Stackhouse in Nashville. I'm at Plucker's Trivia last night watching A&M against Vanderbilt. The Doors hanging in there tough, down one at the half, fighting in the second half against a solid 6-win SEC team in A&M. And Stack's boys get it done with the buzzer beater. Ezra Mannion with the one-handed potential travel, but maybe not a travel, throw it in at the buzzer, and the Doors get the win. How are you feeling about Stackhouse coaching against LSU on March the 2nd?
I couldn't feel better. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, hon. I was watching the LSU game, and they cut to the highlight of Vanderbilt with the ball, and they're down, and I'm like, okay, they're gonna throw up an air ball and miss it, and they're gonna lose. And the guy goes in there, throws it up, and makes it. And
got it blocked, then caught it, and then made it.
I audibly was excited. I was really happy.
My man's a full-blown Vandy fan now.
I'm a Doors fan now.
Look, I got to tell you, I think that may have done it. I mean,
yeah.
I think that second win, I don't think they have to fire him by the end of February. I still got to stick to my guns and say that it's going to happen. I'm going to need some really lopsided losses coming up here for the Doors. But you get that second win, I just don't think they're going to have to make an in-season move. They got to get crushed by Tennessee coming up on Saturday. That will probably happen. I need a home loss to Georgia. Then they go on the road, Florida and Arkansas. That's a big one. But that's only 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then he's got to be fired. I think if there was a bagel, we'd have it. But, of course, Missouri can't get it done. Vanderbilt beat them 2 weeks ago, and they get the win over an Aggie team that was in the tournament, according to Joe Lenardi yesterday.
Which I still don't understand, truthfully.
Yeah, they've got a really good non-conference strength of schedule. They lost a lot of those games, but they played a lot of good
They also
good
have
teams.
2 bad losses to LSU and Arkansas.
They do. And A&M's gotten beat at the buzzer twice. They got beat at the buzzer in Fayetteville and in Nashville.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're talking about with LSU at the top of the show. Like, those games are so tight, and I mean they lost to 2 awful teams. The two of the 3 worst teams in the league probably at the buzzer. But I think in 2 weeks' time, Stack's probably going to be around. My cousin's husband's a big Vandy supporter. I was with him at Mardi Gras. He's disgusted with the state of the football and basketball program, thinks they need to start cleaning house. I think they will eventually, but I think that Stack is going to coach against LSU on March the 2nd. That was the death knell last night for my thought on that. That was a great take. It was like early January.
It wasn't bad. And look, and now they're home against Georgia, who's lost 5 straight. They're not bad, but they've lost 5 straight, so they're not playing well. And that's at home. And then
Are you trying to extend Stack? You're trying to get him to next season?
Here's the thing: they could reasonably have 5 conference wins now. They've got Georgia at home. Then they go to Arkansas, who's really bad. It's still a tough place to play, but they're not good. So that's a winnable game. And then they are at home against LSU, and that's a winnable game. That's 5 conference wins for Stack, and I think he's back next year.
5-13, fired.
Okay,
fired. There's no chance. You can win it. It's not like Vanderbilt football where you have no chance. You have a chance in basketball.
Yeah.
They just have been terrible his entire tenure there. So, yeah. I think you're good on the LSU game here in a couple of weeks. I think you're outside your brain if you think he's going to be back next year. Unless they win, how many they got left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They'd have to win 5 of 7, which would be winning 6 of 8 down the stretch to have any chance there. And I don't think that's going to happen. They're still just horribly bad. So they're 7-17 overall, and their conference record is 2-9. That's terrible by any stretch, but they've exceeded the expectations that we had of them 2 weeks ago.
Not my expectations, on yours.
Well, yeah, it's true. But I think you're in good shape now. That was a tough blow that Ezra Mannion dealt us last night on the Stack is Fired train. So congratulations to you, Beck. How are you going to celebrate?
I'm not sure, but I'm serious. Whenever I was watching that game and I saw him make that buzzer beater, man, I was actually really happy.
It was great to watch at Pluckers. I love when something exciting happens at Pluckers. Unfortunately, it was right on the heels of LSU doing some very poor things, so that's a bummer. But 74-73, Vanderbilt beats Texas A&M, and Buzz probably on the bad side of the bubble now over there in College Station. SEC games tonight of note. We'll talk about a couple of those briefly here. Valentine's Day action in the Southeastern Conference. Can't get it to pull up. I just had it. That's because I was on Thursday and not Wednesday. South Carolina is at Auburn in a top 15 matchup that should be a really, really good one. Auburn's an 11.5-point favorite in that game, which seems
that's a lot.
Really ambitious to me with a South Carolina team that wants to play slow and kind of grind you out. So Vegas must know something there. Then Tennessee is at Arkansas. We'll see if the Vols can kind of clean up some of the sloppiness. They haven't been awesome in the last 3 weeks. Got drubbed by Texas A&M back on Saturday. So we'll go to Bud Walton and see what they can do. They're an 8.5-point favorite on the road in that one. All right, that's it for hour number 1 here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of it, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, or YouTube. You can find us there as well. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. Hour number 2 is coming up. Sharie Fishak's going to be with us talking Saints and Pels. Glenn West a little bit later talking Tigers. Come back. It's Hunt Palmer Show.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. the local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. LeBron James and Steph Curry as teammates. Warriors tried to make that happen before last week's NBA trade deadline, made a bid for James, reports ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski and Ramona Shelburne. Golden State eager to present a deal package to the Lakers, but neither LA nor James were ultimately willing to explore it. LeBron's got a $51 million player option for next season, and he might take a while to make a decision on that, explains ESPN's Brian Windhorst.
I do think that he could really stretch that decision out, not just for the draft, to see what happens with Bronny, but also just to see what happens in the league. I think he wants the Lakers, when they have better opportunities, to be more aggressive. But I think he wants to be a Laker, as you said, Stephen A., and I really think he wants to play for $51 million, which is what he's contracted for next year.
Super Bowl champion Chiefs signed defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo to an extension. A shoulder issues delayed the spring training timeline for Astros ace Justin Verlander, could possibly jeopardize his status for opening day. Ohio State fired basketball coach Chris Holtmann. OSU owes him more than $14 million in guaranteed salary.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Canty. Coming up Thursday, I'll tell you which NFL teams are poised to take a huge step back next season. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half the work week in the rearview mirror, working towards the weekend. A busy weekend here in South Louisiana. Features some baseball, some basketball. No football, though, and no Mardi Gras. That's all in the rearview mirror. Speaking of Mardi Gras, let's go to a guy who was celebrating Mardi Gras over the weekend, working Mardi Gras yesterday, and joins us every Tuesday, but decided to bump it back a day to Astronaut Wednesday. That is Sharie Ishak. Sharie, how are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. Do you think you won an Emmy for your Mardi Gras coverage yesterday?
Dressed as Kim Mulkey, I hope I won some kind of championship for that.
Did you spend a bunch of money on a sequin jacket? I think those things she wears aren't very cheap.
I bought a jacket and then bought feathers. I spent like bell bottoms, feathers, hair, jacket, probably like $80.
That away, just a commitment to the game. What was the highlight of yesterday for you on the Mardi Gras routes?
Man, yesterday was kind of like, oh, you know what? No, Nudie the nutrient was Grand Marshal. A nutrient was the Grand Marshal of the Argus Parade. That was probably the highlight, and it drank some champagne. That was actually kind of cool.
A nutria drank champagne?
Yes, it was the Grand Marshal of Argus.
Is that legal?
I
guess there are no real laws yesterday.
We live in Louisiana.
All right, well, that's interesting. Question: do you feel any differently about the Saints' offense in 2024 today than you did January 20th?
Because of Clint Kubiak? I got to feel a little
you've got
bit better.
some staff shakeups, kind of a new direction.
Yeah, they had to try something. They had to shake it up because it just wasn't working. And they did exactly like what they said they were going to do. They were going to make the changes, the right changes. On paper, it looks great. It really does. And Clint Kubiak, under the Kyle Shanahan tree, he'll get to bring in his own guys on that offense and to do offense. It truly is a new offense outside of the tight ends coach, Sharie Evans, and 2 other assistants. And it's going to be his staff. He'll bring in all those guys that you've seen already that they were going to, he said they were going to hire. And you better hope it works out. I mean, I told you, if it goes south this year, they're going to be looking for an entire new staff after, the 2024 season. But I do feel better. I feel better because I think that maybe there's a way that, he gets to Derek Carr, and Derek Carr can, adjust his game a little bit, do things differently, the offense, and they just stay on the same page, the entire offense. And I think with an innovative mind like, Clint Kubiak, it should happen.
I've seen a lot of mock drafts that have pegged Brock Bowers to the Saints in the first round, tight end out of Georgia. I gave my thoughts on that yesterday. How would you feel if the Saints used a first-round selection on Brock Bowers?
I'd be okay with it because it wouldn't be an offensive or defensive lineman like they've done the previous 9 drafts in the first round. I'd like it. I think that offense is going to need more weapons at some point in time because Michael Thomas is gone. Alvin Kamara is getting a little bit older. We don't know if they're going to try to trade him or do something with him this offseason. You gotta have some more playmakers, whether if it's Brock Bowers or even Brian Thomas if he's still sitting there at number 14. And I'm okay with it. I like playmakers. This league is all about scoring, and it's all about what your offense can do, and you've got to have as many playmakers. And at times last season you saw they sputtered on offense, and it's because they were either beat up a little bit or they just didn't have what it took with the playmakers.
Do you think Rashid Shaheed is a legitimate number 2 wide receiver in the NFL?
Absolutely. On this team, 100%. He does a good job of stretching the field. And now he's starting to work on the intermediate routes. And throughout the season, I thought he got better there as well, not just being, the deep guy who goes down the field. I thought he did well in the middle of the field. So, yeah, I like Rashid Shaheed. I mean, there's a reason he's an all-pro. And because of his returning skills, but he's also improved his receiving skills.
Do you think A.T. Perry can be a legitimate number 3?
He could be a 4 to me. To me, 3-4, and it's a numberless game after your top 2. And if you could be 3-4, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I mean, I thought he showed some flashes, but still has a ways to go, and didn't get that much playing time until like towards the late half of the season. But he showed flashes. I mean, he was successful at Wake Forest. Had those records at Wake Forest. I think you have some potential with him, like in the red zone areas, and I like his size. And when you have a guy that size who's in the red zone, he can do some wonders for you.
Where's your concern with the offensive line?
I want to see what the new offensive line coach can do. I just think that's going to be the number one, hire when it comes to Kubiak. I got to see what he does with that offensive line because, that's where I think there was some miscommunication with Derek and the offensive line and the moving pieces. And can this offensive line coach salvage Trevor Penning? That will be the number one question, Hunt. Can he salvage that number 1 pick from 2022 and avoid it being a bust? So I'd give it a B minus right now.
Kendre Miller, do you know anything about him? Do you feel like he can be a number 1 running back? Do you think the Saints still need help at running back? I mean, where are you with Miller after an injury-plagued first year?
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, he's got to stay healthy. I like what he did against the Falcons. I like what he did against the Bears, and then but he went missing in between those games. That's just not enough tape on him. The best ability is availability, and he just wasn't available that much. And he's just like A.T. Perry. He showed flashes, but yeah, do I think he could be a number 1 back eventually? I do. I think that's probably why they drafted Kendre Miller, to eventually succeed Alvin Kamara, and that's really going to be some big shoes to fill. I think if they stay pat, yeah, I mean they're good with the 3 running backs that they have. But if they move from Alvin, they're going to have to get another running back.
What do you think the odds are? What do you think the odds are that happens?
The problem is with Alvin, I think he's 29. There's not really what value you're going to get in return for him. I mean, can you get the 3rd round pick that you used to draft him in return? That would be great. But do you really want to get rid of him? Or do they just see him not part of the franchise anymore and say, yeah, whatever. We get a 4th or 5th round pick. We're good with it. We're just going to move on. And, we'll draft someone or sign another person. That's going to be the toughest decision because whenever he really does play almost every game. I mean, minus I think the 2021 season we struggled with that knee injury. He's out there playing, so it's going to be tough, man. That's going to be one of the toughest decisions to make on that offensive side of the ball.
Do you think Kamara wants to be in New Orleans, or do you think he wants a change of scenery? I'm a little unsure of what the team chemistry and vibe is, especially around the offense.
I do think he wants to be here. I just think he just doesn't want to be frustrated. I think, the ups and downs of last year and the offense, the arguing you see with Carr and the late game drama against the Falcons, I just don't think he wants to be a part of that type of scenario. I mean, who does? I mean, when you go from a team that had success from his rookie year through 2020 to missing the playoffs 3 straight years, I mean, yeah, naturally everyone's going to be frustrated, including Alvin Kamara, who works really hard. And a lot of the guys work really hard. It's not just him. But I think he still genuinely wants to be here. I do truly think he wants to be here.
Sharie Ishak, sports anchor WDSU, joins us every Tuesday, but we bumped back a day for Mardi Gras. So joining us here on this Wednesday. Pels, a really nice road swing. They go out on the road, win 3 of 4. The one loss to the Lakers in a game where they gave up 80+ in the first half back on Friday. But that's a successful road go of it.
Yeah, I told you, if you get 3 or 4 and split the LA games, you're in good shape. And what they did against the Clippers was unreal. Was really unreal. I mean, it's just something. They have the Clippers number. I mean, you go back and look at their history. I think they've really rolled off some wins against the Clippers outside that blowout here on a Friday. Just don't play them on a Friday night. That's been the problem with the Pelicans. Their Friday night losses. The Lakers loss was hideous. 87 in the first half. I think they only gave up 84 to Portland. And yes, I understand that's like a G League team they're going against, but man, that was bad. That's the one thing that worries me long run here, Hunt. When they go against these stretch athletic bigs like Anthony Davis or Karl Anthony Towns, are they going to be able to do anything when the games matter the most, like playoffs or even down the stretch of the end of the season? That's what worries me about this team, is going against those athletic, long, lengthy teams that, have given them trouble throughout the season. But 3 out of 4 is nice. The last 2 games, not so pretty, but I don't think anyone's going to remember those 2 games, what happened in those games other than the W's.
If I told you before the season started that on Valentine's Day they would be 32-22 and that they'd be healthy, would you have taken that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think that you hear the messaging in that locker room. It's like we should be better. We haven't done enough. There's about 4 to 6 games that they should have won. But 32-22 being healthy, minus Dyson with his meniscus, I think you couldn't have asked for any better at this point in time, knowing that your 2 stars are still out there and available for you.
Does the city have enough energy to make it out to the Blender tonight, or is this going to be a little light crowd? It's been quite a 2 weeks in New Orleans.
Oh man, just the way the way the weather fell, and we got lucky. It didn't rain. You were here. I'm sure you were here this weekend.
I was.
They thought it was going to be a torrential downpour Sunday, and it was perfect. Little drizzle, but outside of that, I mean, it was crazy. It was a crazy Mardi Gras week. I think it's going to be a light crowd. I mean, but they open up a 3-game homestand next week, so I think that's when the fans will get back to it when they open that up next week.
I think so. Sharie, appreciate the time, man.
All right, anytime, hon.
Sharie Ishak, WDSU down there in New Orleans. I got Washington and a little break for the All-Star game, and then you fire things back up Thursday, Friday, Sunday at home against Houston, Miami, and the Chicago Bulls. Glenn West with us in 15 minutes. ESPN.com gave out a list of their way too early power rankings in college football. Where do the Fighting Tigers land, and where do the Crimson Tide land? We'll talk about all that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends April 30th, 2024.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Service that Billy and Pete started in 1987. Custom colors of Baton Rouge, 11550 Cloverland off Segan in the Industrial Place.
After further review with Matt Moscona, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Thursdays off the bench, Jake and T-Bob in studio previewing a little LSU baseball as we're just one day away from opening day at the box. We'll be joined by Chris Dorian to talk all things college football, and then, of course, our Munchie segment with LSU executive chef Michael Johnson. Tune in 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Glenn West with us here in about 15 minutes. Talking Tigers. We'll talk some basketball and baseball coming up with Glenn. We want to spend some time on football here. Mark Schlabach, senior writer over at ESPN, put together a way too early college football top 25 for next year. And your Fighting Tigers of LSU checking in close to where they finished things up this past year, and that is at number 12. The winter update from Schlabach said, no question, LSU will miss the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Jaden Daniels and a pair of 1,000-yard receivers in Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, obviously. Mike Denbrock returning to Notre Dame doesn't help either, but at least the Tigers have an heir-apparent quarterback waiting in Garrett Nussmeier. He was the MVP of the ReliaQuest Bowl after passing for 395 yards with 3 scores in a win over Wisconsin. Transfer C.J. Daniels from Liberty and Xavier Thomas from Mississippi State are proven receivers. Brian Kelly took big steps toward fixing a woeful defense by cleaning house on his staff, plucking Baker, meaning Blake Baker from Missouri was a great move. Tigers added 3 players from the portal, cornerback Jair Brown from Ohio State, safety Austin Osbury from Auburn, and Jordan Gilbert from Texas A&M to help a surprisingly porous secondary. Nothing earth-shattering there, but it just drives home the fact that it's an odd situation to be in where you lose the most high-profile offense in college football. I think that's fair to say, with the Heisman Trophy winner and 2 guys that might go in the first round, one that led the country in touchdowns and the other one that was second by a vote in the Biletnikoff. Like, that is as high-profile an offensive trio as there was in college football last year. And even so, losing those 3 players, most people feel fine about LSU's offense. Now, I expect LSU fans to feel fine about LSU's offense because that's just the way that we operate. You look at the sunny side. I talk all the time about my college football calendar. And by the time you get to August, everybody's ramped their expectations into overdrive, and everybody feels like their team is 2 or 3 wins better than they probably are. That's just the way it goes. But it's not just LSU fans that feel like LSU's offense is going to be fine. It's people nationally, because Garrett Nussmeier played very, very well in the bowl game, and you just feel like LSU's going to have really talented wide receivers. They pulled 2 proven ones out of the transfer portal, and you've got some young guys ready to roll with an offensive line that is just about returning intact. Feel great about LSU's tight ends, and they'll figure out running back as well from the amount of talent they've got. But there's just not a concern that the offense is going to fall off a cliff. The question is, how good is the defense going to be? And I think the answer probably lies in what you get in the transfer portal at defensive tackle moving forward, and how good Jair Brown and Jordan Gilbert are in the secondary. Are Jair Brown at corner and Jordan Gilbert at safety? Are they closer to Jarrett Bernard-Converse and Greg Brooks? Or are they closer to what you saw out there last year? We just don't know. We'll find out when Lincoln Riley starts calling plays on Labor Day weekend. But it's just, when you think of a team losing, it's just high-profile players on one side of the ball, you think the questions would be there, and they're not. The questions lie with the defense and just how good they can be. And LSU comes in at 12th in this ranking. I was curious to see where Alabama would show up in this ranking, and it's further down than you ever see them or have for 17 years. Schlabach's got Alabama at number 9. And you think about just, and we all know that this happened, but then you put it on paper and it just reads startlingly, at least to me. You realize that Julian Sayin, quarterback, transferred. Isaiah Bond and tight end Amari Niblick went to Texas. Caden Proctor, their left tackle, went to Iowa. And you lose Caleb Downs to Ohio State. It's really high-profile players. And who'd they get? Well, they got some transfers from Washington. Quarterback Austin Mack, who hadn't played very much. Jeremy Bernard, who wasn't a huge contributor to them on offense last year. You get LT Overton from Texas A&M on the defensive side. He's been okay, not super productive. He was one of the top 10 players in the country in that monster class that A&M signed. But is he going to be a super productive player? We'll see. There's a lot on Kalen DeBoer's plate, and it doesn't help when you hire an offensive coordinator and he jets to the Seahawks a couple weeks in. We haven't thought of Alabama as the number 9 team in the country in 20 years, and that's what Schlabach thinks of this team. And I was curious where he had Ole Miss, got the Rebels at 6, talked about winning 11 games last year, one of the best years in the 118 years in the program. Quinshon Judkins losing hurts, but Kiffin got a bunch of talent out of the transfer portal. Walter Nolan, who was productive at Texas A&M. Princely Umamanian. I don't know how to say that. It's too hard. It's a lot of vowels. But he was at Florida getting a lot of sacks. Talking about starters at Washington and Julius Buelow and Nate Kalepo on the offensive line. And you bring back Jackson Dart. They're going to be the darlings come July. When everybody migrates over to media days, I don't even know where it is. I don't know if it's back in Hoover, in Atlanta, Nashville, I'm not sure. But wherever they go and do all the media day stuff for 4 days this summer, Ole Miss will be the talk of the town. Lane Kiffin's already tweeting out rat poison and all this. The one thing I disagree with Schlabach about Ole Miss in this bit is the Rebels will play their toughest 2 opponents, Oklahoma and Georgia, at home. I think LSU has a little something to say about that, and that game's in Tiger Stadium. I can already kind of feel the anticipation for that game because if you look at Ole Miss's schedule, they open with Furman, and then they've got Middle Tennessee, and then they're at Wake, and then they got Georgia Southern. Those are their 4 non-conference games, and I think they're going to win them all. Sam Hartman is not at Wake Forest. I don't think that they're going to be great. Then you've got a Kentucky coming to Vaught Hemingway, and I think that Ole Miss will win that game. And then they're at South Carolina, who does not have Spencer Rattler. What is South Carolina? I don't know. Their over-under in Vegas is low. It's 5.5. So if Ole Miss can win that road game, they will come to Tiger Stadium 6-0 and ranked probably in the top 5. Now LSU's got to hold up its end of the bargain, and it's a difficult early season schedule for LSU in terms of name brands. You've got USC, then you play Nichols at home, then you're at South Carolina, then you got UCLA, and then there's South Alabama. Again, at South Carolina for LSU and Ole Miss, do they win both of those games? I tend to think that LSU and Ole Miss can go there and win. Can LSU beat USC? We'll see. They've started the last 4 years 0-1, but that could very well be number 7 versus number 4 in the country. That could very well be a college game day game. That could be one of the biggest games early in college football. Now, what Ole Miss ends up being and what LSU ends up being is not really relevant to this discussion. We're just talking about the stage for that game. It could be absolutely massive. He does have Georgia as the number 1 team in this way too early top 25. That's not surprising. They've stocked the shelves as well as anybody in Athens. You got Ohio State at 2, Oregon, interestingly, at 3, because you've got Bo Nix moving on, but Dylan Gabriel comes back in. Then you got Texas at 4, Notre Dame at 5. I mentioned Ole Miss at 6, Missouri at 7, Penn State at 8, Alabama at 9, Utah at 10, Arizona at 11, and LSU coming in at 12. Defending national champions right behind LSU at 13. You're going to see a lot of Michigan Wolverines drafted coming in this coming draft. They're going to be all over the place. Without Jim Harbaugh, reasonable to think they may take a bit of a step back. So I want to take a look at some of that for some college football. LSU coming in at 12, and Mark Slayball's way too early, top 25. We don't know who's going to be on some of these teams in terms of the transfer portal in a late window, but it's never too early to talk a little bit of college football, huh? We'll do it. With Glenn West coming up here shortly. I want to remind you that we'll be out at the box coming up on Friday. Noon to 2 is our airtime on Friday. We'll move live at lunch up an hour as well. So you'll go off the bench from out at the box 7 to 10, live at lunch from 10 to noon at Rufino's, and then noon to 2, leading up to first pitch between LSU and VMI. I will be out there for FanFest. Should be a lot of fun trying to line some guests up as we speak. So keep y'all posted on that as of tomorrow, but looking very much forward to our time out at the box on Friday. All right, we'll talk with Glenn West coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system. in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR presented by Pluckers. Shay Dixon will join us. We'll talk Clint Kubiak with a 49ers reporter. It's a Whiskey Wednesday, ton to do, and hope you join us 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Got an announcement out of Vanderbilt. Their weekend rotation is set. Grayson Carter, Bryce Cunningham, and Devin Futrell are going to hold their most talented arm, which is Carter Holton, to come out of the bullpen at first. He's not as far along as the others in terms of ramping things up. I give you that information not because you really care who Vanderbilt's pitching this weekend, but just to say everybody else is announcing starters, and I don't know that Jay Johnson is going to. We'll see. He meets with the media coming up in 30 minutes. We'll see. Maybe Glenn West will be there. We'll ask him because he's here now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. You chatting with Jay in 30 minutes?
Absolutely. I'll be heading over there right after I'm done with this conversation.
Do you think he's going to announce any sort of starting pitcher or starting lineup or anything in advance of the game, or do you think he's going to do what he usually does?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to announce anything today. I would be a little surprised if he came out and said this is going to be the Friday, Saturday, Sunday starter. That hasn't exactly been his MO.
He did announce Skeens last year, didn't he?
You know, I can't remember. He might have. I mean, I think it was pretty obvious to everyone by the time we got to the regular season last year that Skeens would be a big-time contributor in this weekend rotation, but I don't know. I honestly don't know if he's going to give us a Friday starter or anything really, any kind of nugget. But we'll report it if we hear anything from him.
Give me a blind guess. Who do you think the starters for these 4 games are going to be? I won't hold you to it.
Yeah, I'll go Thatcher Hurd, Luke Holman, Gage Jump, and Griffin Herring in my first 4. I think you could make a case for really any of the first 3 to get the Friday night start, and I don't think anybody would really give you too much pushback, but I just think that Thatcher is a guy that LSU really wants to lean into that role early in the season. I think that would make a lot of sense considering he just won you the national championship game last summer, and from everything we've heard, he's made some really good jumps into his game as well. I think that he makes a lot of logical sense to get at least the early season work as the Friday night guy, and if somebody like Jump or Holman is more consistent for you in that role, and then you want to make the move down the line, there's always plenty of time to do that. But I do think it's going to be Thatcher to get the ball on Friday. That would be my guess.
Is there a chance that Michael Braswell makes a huge offensive leap from his numbers in South Carolina?
I think there's a chance. I mean, when you're working with one of the best hitting coaches probably in all of college baseball, you'd like to think that there's some give there in terms of improvement. And Michael Braswell was one of the great interviews we had during media day, and he talked about the jumps that he feels like he's made as a hitter, as an offensive player, back into the fall when he really got going with Jay and a lot of these in a lot of the on-field instruction. So I think that there's a 300 hitter in there somewhere. There's a guy that can give you some pop and also hit for contact and move innings along as a pretty consistent hitter. He was really good out in the fall. I haven't seen him a whole ton this spring, so I'm not sure if that's carried over into the spring much, but I do know that he's going to be an integral piece into what LSU wants to do out in the field defensively, but also as a hitter as well, and how he can help move this offense.
We got a month to go before they start conference play, so we'll have some more context to this. But they're playing 30 SEC games. How many do you think Brady Neal will catch?
I would peg him for at least half. I mean, I do think there's, if you kind of read to what Jay Johnson has said going back into the fall, it doesn't sound like Brady is, there in terms of being able to be an everyday catcher. I'm not sure you want him to be an everyday catcher when you've got somebody like Alex Milazzo back there and the defensive prowess that he has to kind of get you through some really important conference games. But I would say 15 would be a good kind of start for Brady. If you can get 15 out of the 30 with him as catcher, and then maybe give Milazzo 15 or 10 to 15 as well. Maybe work in Travinsky if you feel like he can give you a good spot start here or there in conference play. But I do think that they want to be careful with Brady and how much they utilize him from behind the plate, because I do think that they believe he has some real offensive potential that hadn't been tapped into yet. Jay really raved about how much progress he's made since he's kind of come back fully healthy from that injury. And now that they've been getting him more consistent at bats this spring, the difference that he's seen from him from year one to year two, I think is something that they're really excited about going into this year.
What's your biggest question about this team?
It's the offense. I mean, I'm not going to be. I think they have enough pitching to really get them through this season and kind of keep them in a lot of their games, even if it takes the offense some time to get going. But you're asking a lot of guys to step up to the plate this year and fulfill bigger roles than they did last year. I mean, you're really hoping that Paxton Kling's ready to take that next step, that Jared Jones is ready to take that next step. Certainly Brady Neal falls into that category as well. Can Hayden Travinsky be what Jay Johnson has called this spring is one of the most dominant hitters in college baseball? Jay said that a number of times, that he thinks Hayden's in for a monster year at the plate. Can he be kind of that guy that maybe helps protect Tommy White in some respects in the order? So I think there are a lot of question marks with this offense right now in terms of just guys that we haven't seen do it yet, that will have to in order for LSU to get to where they want to go. But I think that's one of the more entertaining and exciting parts about this season to me, is that you don't really have a floor or a ceiling, I don't think, on this offense yet, maybe like you expected last year for a lot of these players that were coming back into the rotation with Dylan Cruz and Trey Morgan and Gavin Dugas and all those guys. There was a certain level of expectation I think you had for the offense last year that I'm not sure is quite there yet with this group.
Chatting with Glenn West, senior writer over at Go 24/7 for all your team and recruiting coverage. Glenn and the guys over there, Sharie, you do an awesome job at Go 24/7. Basketball, heartbreaker last night. They fought all the way back and couldn't close the deal. Is that encouraging or discouraging?
I mean, it's encouraging to a point, but I mean, it's been kind of the common theme for them against quality SEC opponents, is that they get down big early.
Yep.
They use a lot of energy and effort to get back into it late. And then they just kind of run out of gas. And, I think last night was maybe a little bit different in the fact that they got down 20. They were able to pretty quickly erase that 20-point deficit in the second half to where they actually tied it late. But then they just didn't make the plays down the stretch. I mean, it really just points to me as a team that's just not quite ready to win these close games yet. I think look, you had a point blank floater there with Jordan Wright that he just short armed, and just it really looked like he kind of forced that last shot a little bit. He probably could have taken one more dribble and gotten an easy layup as time was coming down. But when your head's going all over the place in those final seconds, and I think you saw that last night. And LSU just they had the crucial turnover from Jalen Cook down the stretch that led to an easy basket the other way for Florida. The offensive rebounding was a really big problem for LSU last night. Florida came in as one of the best rebounding teams in the conference, and they certainly attacked the offensive glass in the second half. That was, I think, the biggest reason that they probably were able to hold on there in the second half was their second chance opportunities. So, look, this is an LSU team that's just maybe not quite ready to win some of these close games. I think it's encouraging, at least, if they're competitive in some of these games against quality opponents, but the next step is getting over that hump and trying to figure out a way to finish some of those games.
Will Baker was a non-factor for most of December and early January. Now all of a sudden he's an offensive force. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I mean, I think for one, he stayed out of foul trouble. That was something I remember I asked him a couple weeks ago when he first got going on this hot streak, is that he hadn't been having to sit for most of the first half and kind of get cold just sitting there when he pick up a couple early fouls. He went through a really tough illness, I think, back in end of December, early January too, that really kind of knocked him off his feet and took him a while to get kind of full strength again, get back to feeling at full strength. He came out like gangbusters last night, 13 points in the first half, but was really neutralized in the second half. I think he only had 2 or 3 points in the second half, and really it was Jordan Wright and Jalen Cook that were kind of trying to carry the load there in the second half. So I'm sure Will would have liked to have played better, but I do think the fact that he's kind of stayed out of foul trouble, that he's gotten a little bit more comfortable with his handle too. I think he's done a really nice job of dribbling the ball and keeping it away from defenders and being able to finish at the rim. But he's been a real bright spot for LSU offensively the last couple of weeks, and really the most consistent force they've had during this really grueling 3 or 4 games that they've been able to go on.
Give him any chance on Saturday in Columbia?
I mean, they did a nice job in Gainesville. I think they've improved as a road team. I think you give them a chance, but I'm not picking them to win this game. I think that they have a chance, though. They have some players that are coming along offensively. They're in these games late. It's just, can they finish them? And until you kind of see it, I don't think you can really believe it's going to happen. But I do think that the fact that they've been a little bit more competitive here against some of these quality opponents is a good thing. But they've got to get over the hump and try to see if they can't win one of these games against a quality opponent like South Carolina.
You and a hot dog, nachos, or both on Friday in the press box?
Oh, both. Come on, first game. Game one, you got to get them all out of the way early. So yeah, you got to go with everything they got.
Well, we'll see you up there in the press box on Friday. Thanks, Glenn.
Yep, thanks, Hunt. Appreciate it.
Glenn West, senior writer over at Go 24/7. He'll now scurry on over to the box where Jay Johnson, Alex Milazzo, and Luke Holman will meet with the media. Matt will have a reaction to all of that coming up on his show. We'll be off the air. I got to go get termites inspected at my house. I don't think there is any termites, but they've got to check it out so we can sell the house. That's what's going on in my afternoon. Super excited about it. Come back and close out hour number 2 coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Give my friends Neil and Melissa Boudreaux a call over there at Boudreaux's Electric. They've been running Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. You do something for 40 years, probably got it figured out, and they do. They run it like a family-run business, because it is, but they've also got amazing resources over there at Boudreaux's Electric. They can monitor your Generac generator 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if on a random Tuesday there's a malfunction, or you got kids out in the yard throwing a football and they knock something loose, you won't know that there's an issue because maybe you don't need the generator at that point. But Boudreaux's Electric will know that something's up because they monitor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So they can call you and say, hey, something's up with the generator. Let us come out and service it. They'll send a full-time Boudreaux's Electric employee over to service that generator so it's ready to roll when you need it. You never know down here in South Louisiana. It could be an afternoon storm, could be a big old hurricane. We got them. Boudreaux's Electric's here to help protect you against power outages during those. So give them a call, 225-300-9389. That's 225-300-9389. That's my friends at Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Join MMR and ignite your career today. MMR is the largest electrical and instrumentation contractor in the nation, and they're seeking talented individuals to join their team. For over 3 decades, they've been headquartered right here in Baton Rouge, and they have offices all around the globe.
And MMR offers a tailored path for both professional and personal development, outstanding benefits, and a dynamic culture. So whether you're an intern, a seasoned pro, or you're just starting out, see what MMR can offer you. Apply at mmrgrp.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the
Thursdays off the bench, Jake and T-Bob in studio, previewing a little LSU baseball as we're just one day away from opening day at the box. We'll be joined by Chris Dorian to talk all things college football, and then, of course, our Munchie segment with LSU executive chef Michael Johnson. Tune in 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Your national champion LSU Tigers open the 2024 season Friday, February 16th, and will be broadcasting live from the box. From 7 to 10, Off the Bench will be live from Championship Plaza, then join Hunt for a special edition of the Hunt Palmer Show from noon to 2. Come out to FanFest presented by Coca-Cola at noon and say to welcome the Tigers as they take the field for the first time this season. It's opening day at the box with 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One more order of business here on this lovely Wednesday, a Valentine's Day. If you've forgotten that, go ahead and get on out and pick something up. You can do it. I was easy. Just did a card, a little box of chocolates, and Cherry Coke Zero. And she seemed to be happy with that, so that's all good. And if you haven't yet, go figure that out. And then we'll play some Take It or Leave It to finish things up. Beck?
All right, first one here. Ohio State has fired head men's basketball coach Chris Holtmann. The Buckeyes' top target will be Will Wade. Take it or leave it.
If they want to win a lot, I would think they should really strongly consider him. The bottom's kind of fallen out there at Ohio State. They're 4-10 in league play and decided to move on. And they're jumping into this pool early, and I think they're jumping in before Louisville, who I think is going to be in the market for a coach, and potentially Indiana as well. Indiana's 6-7 in the Big Ten. They're 14-10.
High expectations there always.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're Louisville and Indiana, those are generally blue blood, attractive basketball programs, and Ohio State may be in a hiring pool with them. I don't know that it's a huge step up. We'll see. But if I'm any of these blue blood schools, Louisville, Indiana, I am calling Nate Oates.
Yeah.
He is winning at a ridiculous clip at a place that plays in a high school gym. Like, I mean, it's just pitiful. The facilities over there in Alabama, they've got no real tradition of winning. and he's winning every single year. That's the call that I would make. But yeah, I think one of those schools should absolutely try to hire Will Wade. We'll see. It's funny though that they owe Holtman $14 million on that buyout,
That's
and this
a lot.
is like the first order of business for Ross Bjork as he takes over.
Cut
He was
the
at
check.
A&M cutting massive checks to Jimbo Fisher. Now he's cutting huge checks. He's making fired coaches really, really rich these days. So shout out to Ross Bjork there.
All right, moving on. The 49ers fired defensive coordinator Steve Wilks after the team reached the Super Bowl, finished the season 8th in yards allowed and 3rd in points allowed. Wilks is the scapegoat. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I'll take it. It's obviously this is news to me. 49ers seem to be like a pretty good team. I don't know what the backstory is on all this deal.
Must not be just the stats, I would guess.
Who knows? But this seems like an odd thing. That's not something I expected to get up and read today. The 49ers are making sweeping coaching changes. I know that their offensive staff is being poached kind of everywhere, and obviously there's been some on the defensive staff that have moved on as well. But the defensive coordinator, I would have thought that's a guy that if he was leaving was going to be leaving for a head coaching job, not being fired. So that's a little bit of surprising news out of San Francisco.
All right, next one here. According to ESPN's Jesse Rogers, Major League Baseball intends to strictly enforce the obstruction rule around the bases this season, instructing umpires to be more diligent in calling the infraction. This is good. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I'll take it if it's the rule. If they're starting to get a little ridiculous with it, then I'll change my tune. I think the players understand what you can and can't do, where you can and can't be, who you can and can't run into. I don't have some significant problem. This is not nearly as drastic as dealing with the pitch clock and all that kind of stuff. So, I think that's perfectly fine. If I reserve the right to change my tune significantly if it becomes sort of a nuisance and they're being ridiculous with it.
Detroit Mercy basketball is 0-26 this year.
That's not very good.
Which is kind of crazy, too, because I think they had the guy who was going for the all-time scorer last year.
He's not there anymore, and now they're 0-26.
And now they're really bad. And
turns out when you let one guy shoot all your shots and he leaves, you're not very good when he's gone.
And they are favored by 5.5 points tonight against IUPUI.
Ooey pooey!
Lay the points. Take it or leave it.
Indiana University, Purdue University at Indianapolis. 5.5-point dogs against an 0-26 team. I don't know a lot about ooey pooey basketball, but they must not be very good. I simply, as a matter of principle, will not be laying lettuce down on a team that's 0-26 and favored. That's against my gambling code. So no, I will not be, but I got to see what Jimmy thinks about that one. I got to tell Matt that on Otterlocks tonight, he needs to talk Detroit Mercy against Ooey Pooey because that's a Roto-Rooter stinky line of the week right there.
Well, Ooey Pooey is 6-20, so they're not good.
But they won 6 games.
But they've won 6 games.
Detroit Mercy can't win ever. And by the way, this just came to me. The Pistons lost how many in a row this year? Like 30?
Something like that, yeah.
What's in the water in Detroit? Make some free throws. How about guarding somebody, win a basketball game?
All righty, last one here. Valentine's Day. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I'm not a huge proponent. There's never been a huge celebration for Valentine's Day in my home. I mentioned earlier today that I gave her a card. Gave her a card from Myers, gave her a Cherry Coke Zero and a little box of chocolates, and she seemed happy with it. She didn't even get me a card, and I think that is the indicator that I really feel like I'm in a good shape. If she doesn't feel it's important enough to go get a card and to give it to me, I think we're in good shape there. Like we got an anniversary in 2 weeks. We had everybody's birthday in the last 8 weeks with hers in December at the end and his December at the end and mine in January. Got an anniversary coming up. We're moving. We're not doing any of this Valentine's Day stuff today. I don't even think I know what we're eating for dinner. But if you want to blow it out and make it a big deal, have at it. What's going on at the Beck house?
Yeah, we don't really worry about it too much. I did get her one of the coffee shops in Baton Rouge. They did this thing where they give you like flowers and a coffee. So I went and got that, and then I'll probably cook some steaks tonight, but. Not exactly big proponents of Valentine's Day, but, we're going to do something.
Ribeye or filet?
Filet.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm a ribeye guy myself, but I can get down with the filet. How are we cooking that? We going on the grill? We going reverse sear, sous vide?
So I will sear it in the cast iron and then put it in the oven.
So that's how I do it too.
It's so easy.
It's like 2 minutes on each side, then pop it in the oven for
really
2 or 3 minutes. It's good to go. Yeah, that's a good deal. So for those that have forgotten about Valentine's Day, I knew there would be others. I'm in a 10-guy group text.
There's got to be
one guy screwed it up.
Yep.
Well, I mean, there was no chance the 10 of us were going 10 for 10. He got a text message like 7:55 when he was on his way to work, and he he's in the doghouse. So I hope he's got his bone in his bowl full of water, because that's where he'll be for a little bit there. Don't be like that guy. Go ahead and get things taken care of in your household for Valentine's Day. That'll do it here for a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Opened up the show talking LSU and Florida. Tough loss for the Tigers last night in Gainesville. Koki Riley talking baseball. He's the Advocates beat reporter. He'll be with us every single Wednesday. Was at 1:15. It was What If Wednesday today. Jerry Stackhouse might be coached against LSU at the end of the month, and that's big news for Jacob Beck. Sharie Shaq and Glenn West with us, and our normal Tuesday guests with us today on Wednesday. If you missed any of the show, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. Of course, you can find us on YouTube as well. Tomorrow's show, I'm excited. I'm giving you my LSU baseball predictions. I was only one game off last year. I don't know if I can do that again, but we're certainly going to try. Have a great Valentine's Day. We'll see you tomorrow on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the